Oh, welcome, Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us on the road again. In conjunction with KSYL 970 AM, my good friends at Central Broadcasting. We're here at Hickson Autoplex in beautiful, I say downtown Alec. I may not be saying it right. I don't think you're downtown right here off of MacArthur Drive, but we are in Alexandria. And we'll be here till 11 o'clock. Come on by. They've been eating the best stop boudin all morning. And we'll be here till about 11 o'clock, but you're welcome to come by, say hi. We get to meet a lot of good people here every day before the show, during, and after. And you're more than welcome just to come by and say hi. I've even taken some pictures, and I'm not responsible for what happened to their phones. I just can't do it. But anyway, we may or may not visit with Dallas. I don't know. I know he's busy with a lot of meetings today, but if we get a chance to visit with him, good. I don't know if he'll be here or not. But don't forget, 3 great locations, Leesville, Monroe, and, of course, Alexandria. We're trying it. We should be coming to Leesville for a remote. I'm trying to get all those dates put down so we can get to Leesville and do a remote in Leesville. So I'm looking forward to that as well. We've gone down there a couple of times. Always great people around the great state of Louisiana. Well, you're going to get some information you can't get from anywhere else but the program. And I got a couple things that I want to start with the program. And there's a lot of stuff out there. By the way, Senator Troy Brown resigns from the Senate after not one but 2 domestic violence problems. One, he bit his wife. The second one, he punched his girlfriend. I don't know if he punched his girlfriend because she was mad at the wife, or he bit his wife because he was mad at the girlfriend. I don't know any of that. But I do know that he's resigned, so that means a deal was cut. Now, if you talk to the legislators or senators, they may tell you a different story than mine. And I'm going to stick to my story. I think I want to give John Alario credit on this. I think there was a deal made. And let me tell you, follow me on this, because I think there's some merit to what I'm getting ready to say. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. But I think there's some merit. Okay, you got the deal maker, the Michael Jordan of the legislature, the magician, the Master Alario. So you got the Senate, who really don't want to vote for this. That's a fact. They didn't want to touch this, folks. Now, they had a couple of them gutting up and stepping up. And by the way, we'll visit with Senator Hewitt at the 10:30, because I think she was the one that had one of the bills to get him out. We'll visit with her coming out of the 10:30 break. So you had the Senate, but in all fairness, none of them wanted to vote. None of them. They don't want the record. They don't want it on their hands. On the flip side, Troy Brown says, I'm not leaving. So tell me if this scenario matches up. Troy's not leaving. The Senate don't want to vote on it. What do you need? Do you need a leader? No, Cornelius. You need a deal maker. Who's the best deal maker in the state of Louisiana? The Master, the magician, John Alario. So this is how I think it went down. The Master Alario is sitting there eating crab stew. And the senators say, Mr. Alario, can we meet with you? Oh, wow, sure, come on in. So they come, and they sit down, and he said, hey, why don't y'all sit down? Y'all want something to eat? They said, sure. So Senator Alario goes, boom, barrel peacocks right there. Master Senator, what do you need? And he says, fix these boys some crab stew. Yes, sir. So Peacock goes get it, and they say, what's the problem? Master Alario, we don't want to vote on this. We don't want this on our hands. You got to come up with what? A deal that gets everybody winning. That's what he does, even though everybody mostly loses. So they eat their crab stew. They leave. They say, okay, I'll make a deal with Brown. So he calls in Senator Brown. Senator Brown comes in, Master Alario, how you doing? Master Alario looks at him and says, would you like something to drink? He said, absolutely, I love something to drink. So he goes, Barrel Peacock come running around the corner. Master Alario, what can I do for you? He says, go get the man something to drink. So Peacock goes get something to drink. He said, Troy, what do you want? I need you to resign. I know you want something. I know there's something out there you want either for your district or not. Senator Brown tells the master deal maker what he wants. Done deal. Calls the senators, gets the telephone. Barrel comes running. What do you need? Bring me my cell phone. Brings his cell phone. He calls. He cuts the deal. Here's what he wants. Let's put in an appropriations bill next deal, and the senators agreed to it. Brown's gone. The senators don't have to vote, and John Alario sits back, Bring me something to put my feet up on, and the deal's made. Now, that's my scenario of what happened. That may not be exactly what happened. I don't know if that happened, but I think this could have happened like this. Brandon, I don't know if you think it could have happened this way, but I just think it could have happened this way. So, anyway, that's Brown's out. If a deal was cut, now let me give you another little bit of a story, because I got this today from somebody deep in the legislature. Now, I want y'all to listen to me on this one. Brown did resign. And by the way, he used the words, he was getting ready to get a lynching. Here we go with the race stuff again. I heard he didn't have many votes supporting him. Black and white, by the way, Democrat and Republican. But they didn't want to vote on it. So here's what I'm hearing he might do. So the charges, and I don't know how, why, when, where, the charges are considered, quote, misdemeanors. So here's what I'm hearing Brown may do. So Brown's got it out the way for right now. He handles this court thing pretty swiftly, pays his, quote, fine, and they're going to call for an election in his district really soon. Senator Brown runs again, wins, ends right back up in the Senate, and he says, look, my constituents forgave me. My constituents put me back in here. I don't want to hear nothing from y'all anymore. And that's when the master may have to call him back in, but we had a deal. But that's a possibility. Don't think it's not a possibility, because it is. I remember it was a Washington mayor. Who was the Washington mayor? I forget the guy. Barron? Huh? Barry. Thank you, ma'am. Oh, I love one of the people here. I think he ran. He was the mayor. He got caught smoking dope, quit. I think he came back and run and won again. Yeah, on film they had him with a young prostitute or a young woman or whatever, and he came back and run again. So when you sit here and think that can't happen, it can happen, because he's going to throw this off as a misdemeanor. I don't know about y'all, but biting your wife and punching your girlfriend, I don't have that as a high priority on my list. Oh, by the way, real quick hangout, because the young ladies that's sitting right here wanted me to do a shout-out to the Burger King group on Jackson in Alexandria, Louisiana, off Jackson Street, that meet every morning, that said they're big fans of the program. I never knew I had one fan. But I do want to say shout-out to them, the Burger King group. So when y'all eating tomorrow, drink a coffee on me. And you can, and I don't have a problem with you sending me over some food one day. So anyway, that's what's going on. Brown's gone. I think the scenario was a deal cut. I don't know that. I can't prove that, but I just tell you how. If a deal was cut, that's kind of how it went down. The master deal maker, who would never say a word up front, I just think he's back there. Senator Brown, what you want? You get out of here. They don't want to vote. You just think about it. We don't want to vote. We don't want to leave. But we'll leave if we get a deal. We're willing to give him something to get out the way so we don't have to vote. That's how it works in Baton Rouge. That's how it works in Washington. And I don't think anybody has a like he does in Barrel Peacock. But, it is what it is. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline if you'd like to be part of the program. So Brown is out. The way it was told to me that Brown walked in with a resignation letter and basically resigned. But in the comments in the paper said it would have been a lynching. And I just thought, wow, why do you have to grab that? I mean, why do you have to go there? That means you lost again, because you got to grab something there's not a lynching. The guy has not shown himself to be trustworthy with women. And put it any other. I still can't imagine. I can imagine defending myself against a woman that tried to hit me or stab me or shoot me. I can admit that. I can understand trying to get somebody off of you. I can't understand biting somebody on a woman, and I can't understand throwing a punch at one. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna be honest with you. I know somebody told me one thing, that if you're woman enough to punch somebody, you better be woman enough to get hit back. But I don't buy into that. I don't think of a scenario that would happen unless it's a gun and a knife. If somebody's just throwing poison in your face, I mean, you know what I'm saying? But in this day and time, somebody would throw a knife or shoot a gun at you, and they wouldn't catch that on film. But as soon as you punch the woman back, that's all that would go viral in this day and time. It would be all over the country, all over Facebook, all over social media. Look at Moon punching a woman. That's all they saw. You know how hard it would be to get your reputation back? But they don't show you that she shot a gun at you. She shot 3 bullets at you, and you finally were able to pop her. And the only thing the social media would show, do you want that guy? And there would be a lot of people out there would go, man, I can't believe that guy's not in jail for punching a woman. What about the rest of the story? So what we're doing in life now is catching bits and pieces, and we're not catching the whole thing. Brown's in trouble, but I would not be surprised if his name is Senator Brown again, my opinion, after the election, that they'll have a special election to try to get him. Let's say this is February. I don't think they can call that race March, April, May. I don't think they can have the race before May. Then you have a runoff scenario. But who knows? But I think he'll try to stick around. I don't know if a deal was cut, but we'll have to wait. If a deal was cut, trust me, I'll figure it out. All right, we got to take a break. When we get back, the ripping of Jay Darden. You do not want to miss this next segment. You don't, and I want to tell you about a budget, some information you don't know that's going to blow your mind as well. All that and more when we get back. We're at Hickson Autoplex, HicksonHasIt.com. We'll take a break. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. To be a voice. Now, you heard all the budget stuff, right? You heard all the budget talks. Now, I got some numbers here, but I'm going to wait to give them to you, and you're going to be shocked about what I'm going to give you that nobody's reporting it. You won't see it in a Jim Beam piece. You won't see it in the Advocate. You won't see it in the Times-Picayune, but you will hear it here on my program. I've got some numbers. They're talking about all these budgets and budget cuts. Here's my question before I play this clip and before I get to this. Do you think our budget's being cut, and do you think there's going to be any increase in the budget next year? Just hold that thought right there. Is the budget really going to go down and cut, or is it going to really go up? All right, here is Jay Darden getting absolutely ripped up by John Schroeder, Representative, is it Rep or Senator Brandon? I think, is it Senator Schroeder or Representative Schroeder? Okay, State Rep. Listen to Jay Darden going to tell him how to do his job. And this is how elected officials ought to be. They ought to be tough. And he took little Jay Darden, whose ship came in when he knife bit her, and he ate his lunch. By the way, you can see this on my Facebook on Moon Griffon, Friends of Moon Griffon. Here we go. Listen to this.
Want to make. The cuts that you proposed were not acceptable to the administration.
But we did propose cuts. That's all I wanted you to get out there, that we had proposed cuts to you. That's all I was getting.
You proposed cuts, but the governor is not in a position to negotiate with a handful of legislators.
He doesn't want to do anything. I got it.
No, he wants to do a lot. But he doesn't want to negotiate with a handful of legislators that doesn't necessarily represent the will of the entire body. Your job as a legislature is to pass a bill and present it to the governor that says what you think ought to happen to solve this problem.
I'm just glad somebody's telling me why I'm here and that what job I should be, Jay. And I don't think I've ever sat here and told you how to do your job. And I can tell you this, that I know for a fact. The people of Louisiana don't want us to raise our taxes. Now, you can spin that however you want to do it. But in my world, when I got to go home and close a business and lay people off, that doesn't happen here. This doesn't happen here. We cannot raise revenue right now when you got businesses back home losing money, laying people off. We got less jobs in Louisiana today than we did last year. So the reality is, since you're telling me how to do my job, the reality is we don't live within our means. That's the reality. It doesn't mean I don't give a rat what everybody wants. And every year, it's the same thing, whether it's Governor Edwards or Governor General. It's the same type of stuff. I see one-time money everywhere. The intent of the legislation that we passed several years ago was to stop having these kind of conversations. And you know that. One-time money being spent on recurring expenses is bad for everybody. I know it's difficult. And I don't need to be told what I need to do. I've sat in this same seat for years, arguing what we need to do. You, along with others, didn't want to listen and didn't want to do it. So don't sit there 10 years later now and tell me how to do my job. I know what my job is. And as a legislator, I know we're spending more money than we have. And that's a problem. And we're not doing anything in this plan, and you haven't said anything at all to help me help you. We have not addressed anything structurally at all. No policy, nothing. And unless I missed the press conference or the news release, I haven't seen one thing that fixes or revamps something structurally in the state of Louisiana when it comes to government.
Now, folks, I got to tell you, that's a rear-end drilling of Jay Darden. By the way, Cameron Henry started it all, okay? And then Jay Darden preached to him like he's the God. And then Schroeder ripped his head off. He sounded like me. I mean, he's all the stuff that everybody accused me of saying that I'm wrong about, and I don't have all the information. Listen to Schroeder. Schroeder's right. He's been sitting in that chair saying we can't do this. They've been presenting a different budget, and Bobby Jindal would go along with John Alario every year on the budget. The fiscal hawks were trying to do something about it. And yet, everything Schroeder told Jay Darden is right on the money, slam in the face, and Jay knows better than to come with that preaching higher. You know, he lives on the south side in Baton Rouge and thinks he's greater and better than everybody else, and he's not. He's such a leftist. My God, what a ripping. That was a ripping from Schroeder, John Schroeder. It was just a total blanket of Jay Darden. And by the way, now, I'm about to take the break to when I come back, I asked the question, you think our budget has really been going down? You think our budget is going to go down next year? I'm going to give you the numbers if they don't use any money in a rainy day trust fund, and if they use $70 million. And you're going to be shocked at the numbers I'm getting ready to give you because these are real numbers, folks. Jay Darden got it handed to him. Check it out on my Facebook at Moon Griffon. It's right there. It's real simple, and you can get it. You can share it with everybody. That's what these legislators ought to be telling Edwards. The budget's rising, folks. It's not going down. They don't have to do any cuts. I mean, they don't have to raise any new revenue. They don't have to use the rainy day trust fund. I mean, what a rip. And we're going to play that again sometime during the course of the program. But I'll come back. When I come back, I'm going to give you some real numbers that you can sink your teeth into. We'll take a break. You're at Hickson Autoplex, HicksonHasIt.com. And, of course, the Hickson Has It hotline, 844-766-6607. We'll be right back. That's a little Jay Darden rear-end kicking music right there. Hi, y'all all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show, 844-766-6607. Hickson Has It hotline, boy. And by the way, and I'll play it again sometime during the course of the program. If you remember, at the start of that, Cameron Henry asked him, he said Darden had made the comment about budget cuts and claiming that they hadn't sent him any budget cuts. And Cameron Henry said, we have sent you budget cuts. We said, well, none that we can work with. And then Cameron, I think it was Cameron Henry. Cameron Henry goes, well, so you admit we sent you budget cuts? Well, we couldn't work with you. Well, so I just wanted to admit that we sent them because Darden and Edwards and the Advocate and that dang Jim Beam and the Gannett newspapers, all they keep doing, folks, is they're not telling y'all the truth. They just throw lies. They protecting the governor, kind of like the press did with Obama. They now bragging he got $3 million in the war chest, the one-term governor. Hell, Vitter had $10 million. That ain't got nothing to do with nothing, man. Ain't nobody going to be run off because Edwards is raising money from the leftists. But Jay Darden's ship came in and got his rear end handed to him. Now, let me give you I want to give you some information that I got that I believe to be factual. I'm going to read this to you. If no rainy day fund is used, that means that $119 million is not used at all. I want y'all to listen to this so when you have arguments against these people, it's not used in a special session, and the budget is cut the additional $119 million. So, in other words, instead of using the $119 million rainy day fund, they do it in cuts. The state's budget will increase 6% over what it had last year. I want you to think about that. Not taking another $119 million from the savings account and putting it in the budget. The budget is going to be up 6% despite not taking that extra money. Now, how can they tell us they have no money? $2.8 billion in new taxes. The budget's up $2.8 billion. There's no cuts. When John Bell Edwards in the legislature, Jim Beam and the Gannett paper say, well, you know, the governor's cut $830 million. I just start laughing. The budget's skyrocketing up. So if they don't use the additional $119 million from the rainy day trust fund and they do actual cuts, the budget's still up 6%. Now, let me give you another one. Under the compromise plan, well, this is the plan. Remember, there were two plans. One, they didn't use any they didn't use any of the one-time money. The other one, they used $70 million. So under the compromise plan, they used $70 million of the rainy day. The budget will increase over 7% from last year. These numbers are state effort only and do not include federal funds. If they use $70 million of the rainy day trust fund, the budget's going to be up 7%. If they don't use any rainy day trust fund and they cut $119 million, the budget's up 6%. Folks, it's a spending problem. And until we get to this, Jay Dard's never going to admit it. His ship came in. He's a leftist with Bell Edwards. Until we understand this and you quit reading Jim Beam articles, which are, by the way, he cried in the papers Thursday about, I've been coming under attack. I wonder who that was. You didn't come under attack, Mr. Beam. Your credibility is being challenged because of what you used to be and who you are now. Okay? I'm not attacking anybody. We're challenging what y'all saying because they're bogus numbers. And then folks read what Jim Beam said. Jim Beam said that he's supporting Edwards because he thinks he's an honest and a good man. That was it. Let me see if I got the quote. Here it is. Let me find it. Oh, here it is. Jim Beam in his article Thursday. American Press. I have come under some criticism in my support for Edwards and his efforts to restore fiscal sanity to Louisiana state government. By the way, if you listen, and Brandon, pull it back up. If you listen to Schroeder, there's been no fiscal sanity under General, and there's no fiscal sanity under this man. There is no fiscal sanity under any of them. Beam goes on to say that, however, I make no apology for believing John Bell Edwards is a good man who has the best of intentions. Well, that's good enough for Beam. He's a good guy. He got the best intentions. Hey, what would the best intentions would be give everybody free health care, right? And we just pay for it. That'd be great intent. Everybody gets a free vehicle. I think, Jim, that's a good intention. Everybody gets a vehicle. Everybody gets free cell phones. Great intention, Jim. Not reality. I can't believe Mr. Beam I just can't believe him. So there's the numbers, folks. If no rainy day fund money is used and you cut the budget $119 million, we still got a 6% increase. If you just do $70 million of the rainy day trust fund, you got a 7% increase from last year. I mean, what else is there to talk about? I'm going to tell you what. I don't know if the Republicans have the guts to do it. If I was the Republicans, I go home. I go ahead and fiddle through this session. I do not give a penny of the rainy day trust fund money. Prove that the budget is up like I'm saying. You can't lose. Let him figure it out. Let him do the cuts. Let me tell you something else I got. And this bothers me more than anything. Once again, information here you can get. You're not going to get anywhere else. But I'm going to give it to you. Okay? This is the word I'm getting, and this is coming on some pretty good sources. John Bell Edwards went to see the Republicans the other day. He got livid with the Republicans because there were some questions fired at him about the accuracy of his budget. And he got so mad at them. Here was a question I proposed to him. He said if the budget wasn't $300 million, they wouldn't have a special session. Folks, there's some hanky-panky going on with the budget. You got to remember the Revenue Estimating Conference is made of the Speaker of the House, that's Mr. Barra. He doesn't see all these numbers. It's made up of somebody from the administration. You know who that representative is? Jay Darden. Oh, yeah, beautiful Jay Darden. The third member of that fine outfit is John Alario. And the fourth member is Jim Richardson, who's been on this committee forever, who's been giving us bogus numbers for a long time. And he works for the state. That's your Revenue Estimating Conference, government. So the Revenue Estimating Conference came up with $304 million, but here's the odd thing. Back in November, December, whenever they met, they only said we had like $165 million from personal income tax. All of a sudden, in January, it's jumped to $400+ million. So there was somebody that asked Edwards, and he blew a gasket. because if they had used the number that was now in the coffer, which is 400+ million in personal income taxes, the deficit would have been only 220 million, and they would not had the special session. Do you understand what I'm saying here? The Revenue Estimating Conference is made of Taylor Barra. Barra's not getting the numbers. Barra is new to the process. It's not Barra's fault. I think Taylor's held his own. But look at the other three. Jay Darden, leftist liberal. Jim Richardson, who's been on this conference committee forever. He works for the state of Louisiana. He works for the government. He's been giving us all these numbers all through the General's years and before. And the kingpin of it all, the master, the magician, John Alario. There's a lot of people think, I kind of lean to this way, the books were cooked. The books were cooked for them to even have the special session because they're so fascinated with taxes and bigger government. And the books were cooked. And the Revenue Estimating Conference played some politics here. There's some people that believe this theory. I'm one of them. I think the whole thing's cooked and made up. Folks, I'm telling you information that you got to grab hold of. I don't make any of this stuff up. I don't have to. What would be my purpose? Hanky-panky going on in this session. If I was Republicans, I'd gut it up, get out of there, and make him go make the cuts himself. Watch all of a sudden everything's better. Watch. If he has to make all these cuts, they'll find money in the closets, underneath the sofa. They will find the money. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us here at beautiful Hickson Autoplex in Alexandria, Louisiana. Don't forget, they have 3 great locations. One's in Monroe, right off of the interstate on the service road. It's a brand new facility. It's really beautiful. One in Leesville, where they redid some stuff. And here, of course, in Alexandria, Louisiana, off MacArthur Drive. We're broadcasting in conjunction with our good friends at KSYL 970 AM, Cinema Broadcasting, and I do appreciate those guys and ladies and gents that work there. I really do. All righty. Once again, folks, I'm just trying to get you some information that you're not going to read picking up a Jim Beam article. You're not going to read in the Gannett newspaper when Greg Hilbert's the one doing the coverage. Greg Hilbert, he's so one-sided. It's whatever somebody tells him from the left to do, that's what he writes. I mean, he still told us he told us about the chicken plucking plants coming to Rayville, never came. He told us about a car manufacturing plant coming to Monroe, it never came. He talked about another car manufacturing plant coming late under another governor. That never came. You know, it just every story he puts out there, you just don't know what to believe. You got people from the Times-Picayune. They pick their sides. The Advocate's probably gotten to be the worst. John George's newspaper's a sycophant for Governor Edwards, a one-term governor. I don't care how much money he raises. It's just information you can use. If you sit here, common sense people saying you're up $2.8 billion, the biggest budget we ever had. The state portion of the money is going to be up 6% if you don't put the rainy day money in the budget, and you still cut $119 million more. The budget's up 6%. If you do the alternative plan and put $70 million in the budget, it's up 77%. Okay, so either way you go, Edwards will have more money. Here's what you need to do. If you folks would call your Republican representatives, and you got to get to the weak ones like Paige Cortez and people like that vote tax. You got to get to them. You really have to get to them and say, look, why don't you just go home? Just don't vote for any of this mess. Here's what will happen. And I told you about the Revenue Estimating Conference made of Jay Darden, the leftist. I've been telling y'all about him. Jim Richardson, who has a lot of credibility, a smart guy, but he's a government worker. Taylor Barra, who's new to the game. Okay, and he's not getting the numbers. The only people with the real numbers is the governor. And then the master, the magician, the grown-up in the room, John Alario. What do you think? They're going to give you bogus numbers? They've been giving us boop for a long time. So they come up with these bogus numbers to say we got a $304 million deficit, but they don't tell us that the personal income taxes grew by $250 or $300 million in 2 months. They didn't even use those numbers. They used the numbers that the Revenue Estimating Conference gave out before the end of the year. They didn't even use the new numbers. The deficit wasn't that high. So here's what happens. I guarantee you this would happen. If Republicans could stick together, they could blow this away. If they stick together and don't do nothing, Let them call you the party or no and all that. Edwards would never cut $300 million out. Edwards would find the way to say, well, our revenue's up because it is in income taxes. They would find a way. They wouldn't cut any more than they're going to cut. You see, they need the rainy day money because they need 70 votes is why we listen to all this bunk. But if they walked away, Edwards would find a way to balance the budget, but it would be all on him. This honor code guy that y'all think he's an honor code guy, this honor code governor, this one-term governor, he didn't have the guts to do anything hard like that. I guarantee you the Revenue Estimating Conference would come to his rescue because who is the Revenue Estimating Conference? Jim Richardson, works for the government. Jay Darden and John Alario. Barra can only go up and down because he's only working with the numbers they gave him. I'm going to defend Taylor Barra at this point, They could walk away from this right now and never look back. And Bell Edwards, the one-term governor, and co-governor Darden, who just got his fanny ripped, could do it. Now listen to that, Brandon. I want to pull it up again. Let me tell you the scenario of this. You're going to hear Jay Darden, and you're going to hear Cameron Henry saying, okay, we had cuts. Then you're going to hear when Jay Darden, the liberal co-governor, makes the point, he's going to tell them how to do their job. That's when you hear John Schroeder light him up and eat his lunch. Listen to this.
The cuts that you proposed were not acceptable to the administration.
But we did propose cuts. That's all I wanted you to get out there, that we had proposed cuts to you. That's all I was getting.
You proposed cuts, but the governor is not in a position to negotiate with a handful of legislators.
He doesn't want to do anything. I got it.
No, he wants to do a lot. But he doesn't want to negotiate with a handful of legislators that doesn't necessarily represent the will of the entire body. Your job as a legislature is to pass a bill and present it to the governor that says what you think ought to happen to solve this problem.
I'm just glad somebody's telling me why I'm here and what job I should be, Jay. And I don't think I've ever sat here and told you how to do your job. And I can tell you this, that I know for a fact. The people of Louisiana don't want us to raise our taxes. Now, you can spin that however you want to do it. But in my world, when I got to go home and close a business and lay people off, that doesn't happen here. This doesn't happen here. We cannot raise revenue right now when you got businesses back home losing money, laying people off. We got less jobs in Louisiana today than we did last year. So the reality is, since you're telling me how to do my job, the reality is we don't live within our means. That's the reality. It doesn't mean I don't give a rat what everybody wants. And every year, it's the same thing, whether it's Governor Edwards or Governor Jindal. It's the same type of stuff. I see one-time money everywhere. The intent of the legislation that we passed several years ago was to stop having these kind of conversations. And you know that. One-time money being spent on recurring expenses is bad for everybody. I know it's difficult. And I don't need to be told what I need to do. I've sat in this same seat for years, arguing what we need to do. You, along with others, didn't want to listen and didn't want to do it. So don't sit there 10 years later now and tell me how to do my job. I know what my job is. And as a legislator, I know we're spending more money than we have. And that's a problem. And we're not doing anything in this plan, and you haven't said anything at all to help me help you. We have not addressed anything structurally at all. No policy, nothing. And unless I missed the press conference or the news release, I haven't seen one thing that fixes or revamps something structurally in the state of Louisiana when it comes to government.
Wow, folks, you can check that out on my Facebook, Moon Griffon. And I want you to share the heck out of that with everybody, every Republican, every liberal. He got his fanny wiped out. And I'm just telling you, that's the kind of person we need, somebody fighting. Now Schrader talked about, it's the same thing Jindal was doing, the same thing Jim Beam accused Jindal of doing and Republicans doing when it was a lot of Democrats, actually. It's the same thing. You know, I'm just sick of this stuff. And I got to tell you, I want to give credit to my producer, Brandon Como, for finding this because we knew it was out there yesterday. But he found it this morning, so I want to thank Brandon for finding that. And I put the blame on Brandon. That way, when somebody goes after him, they go back after Brandon, not the good-looking talk show host.
Just when I thought you were doing something nice for me, Moon.
Well, I always tell you, Brandon, you got to be my defender, if nothing else. But Brandon, when people listen to that and you watch it, you ought to go watch it. It's even better because you got Jay Darden trying to tell him what to do. Schroeder can speak from the perspective he has been doing that for the last 8 years. And what's happened is General and them wouldn't listen. They always went with John Hilario's budget. So it's right on the money. It's just some Facebook stuff. Telling it like it is. Jay Darden needs to use his ears and listen to what's being said. No, he's not going to do that. Keep it coming, Schroeder. NGOs, contracts, funding for positions that have been eliminated. Let's say, thanks, Mr. Schroeder, for standing up for Louisiana. People like Darden are Louisiana's problems. I've been saying that. Darden, John Hilario, Francis Thompson. If Schroeder wants the one for governor, he could get my vote. Here's another one. This is the quintessential example of the establishment arrogance. Another one. Woohoo! Tell them quit spending. John Schroeder's my new next favorite X-Man. And this is another one. He handed Jay his ASS right there. Good job. So, and by the way, keep it coming, folks. But check it out on Facebook. Look at it for yourself, but I need you to share it. Not for me. I need everybody to see what really happened. And if you do that, I'm telling y'all, we'll start making a difference in the state of Louisiana. So it's no doubt if the Republicans would just listen to me one time, walk away for the session, don't give them anything. I guarantee you it won't be a $304 million cut. I bet you it won't be a $100 million cut. They got no more money coming in on income taxes, and they're not reporting that. So we'll take a break, be right back. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Griffon Show on the road again. Hickson Autoplex in beautiful Alexandria, Louisiana. HicksonHasIt.com. I thought to Dallas. Go to the website. Just had somebody call looking at a Expedition, charcoal gray. And they're working on them now. So great place to get your vehicle. All right, let's jump gears on the Hickson Has It hotline. Senator Sharon Hewitt joins us. Senator Hewitt, how you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing fine, Moon. How are you?
I am doing great. All right. Troy Brown has resigned, I see. What was your bill or what was your resolution going to do?
Well, the resolution that I co-authored with Senator Claytor and Senator Mizell would have expelled Senator Brown from the Senate.
Okay. Now that he resigned, I'm just curious. He resigned, but I got some funny things going on, thinking that he may try to run for his seat as soon as they pop back up, say it's a misdemeanor. If he was to do that and win, would you still go after him and try to get him out?
Well, I think at that point, his constituents will have spoken, and we need to respect that. But I can tell you right now that all of the email and messages and what have you that I got from people who said they were constituents in his district were 100% supportive of us moving forward with the expulsion resolution. So I think he's going to have a tough road to hoe if he really is considering running for his old seat again.
Well, I by the way, I want to commend you, and I think Mr. Claytor were actually trying to do something about it. But I also heard that he didn't have the votes to stay in there, so him resigning was a way for him to ease out of it. I want to thank you because a lot of people felt like the pressure had to come from the legislature and the Senate in this case. And I want to thank you because at least you stood up to say, you know what, enough's enough. And this is ridiculous. You bite a woman, you punch a woman, and all of a sudden you get to be an elected official. And we see athletes get kicked off and never play again. And so I want to commend you. I think that was really good what you did.
Well, thank you. I felt compelled to do it. For me, it's about expecting our elected officials to abide by the law. No one is above the law. And it set the tone for the standards that we expect as senators of our fellow senators. And, of course, it did send a message to victims of domestic violence, that we don't condone that behavior, and we want to work together to strengthen the laws on domestic violence. You know, it's kind of crazy that that would be considered a misdemeanor, but part of it is because it was the initial woman was a girlfriend and not a wife or a household member. And so those are things in the law that we can work on going forward to strengthen the law so that this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, you know, I was talking to my bride this morning, and we were talking about that. She said, "Moon, how is that a misdemeanor?" And so I'm going to ask you, how is that a misdemeanor? What are they telling you? Now, you didn't make the law up. I understand I sent it to you, but how is that a misdemeanor if you bite somebody or punch somebody? I'm trying to figure that out, and maybe there's a reason that it came out that way.
Well, I think there were a couple of things going on. In the first incident, it is because the victim was not a household member and not a family member. It was a girlfriend. And so that's a misdemeanor. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's the way the statute reads right now. In the second case, I do believe that it was kind of a plea deal that allowed him to get it down to a misdemeanor in the event that involved his wife. So I can guarantee you that to the women involved, this did not feel at all like a misdemeanor.
So you're telling me that through the process it was pleaded down to that, probably because he was a state senator. I'm guessing, no cut on what you do. I'm just guessing he's a state senator and knew somebody, so they pleaded down. But I'm glad you said that, because that's what everybody's been saying, and people that I'm talking to that were following this, they were really disappointed this was a misdemeanor. But you just explained something that I think is going to help. They go to court, and there's always plea and agreements, and it's got pleaded down. And I think that probably will make people feel better that this didn't start as a misdemeanor.
Right. And again, you know, this for the Senate, this was not really about whether it was a misdemeanor or not. It was about what behavior do we expect of a fellow senator, and what do the constituents expect of elected officials. And, you know, there's way too many elected officials in the news in Louisiana about, you know, breaking the law in many different ways, whether it's corruption or ethical issues or whatever. And I think that it's time for that to stop. And we need to be held accountable, and our constituents expect us to be, you know, fully abiding by the law and to be role models for others in the state.
Yeah, I knew the heat was picked up on him through the press, and then when y'all started pulling out what y'all were going to do, I'm sure the heat got to him a little bit. I do agree with you. I think it's what we're willing to put up in the state. And by the way, we've put up with a lot from a lot of them through the years. But when you start to, and I've said this earlier to my audience, unless a woman's going to put a knife or gun, throw poison in your face, I cannot think of a reason to have a bite or hit a woman. A lady, a woman, nobody. I just don't see it. Now, defending yourself's a whole new ball game, but in this case, that's not what happened.
No, it's not. And what was a little bit disappointing to me is Mr. Brown really has shown little to no remorse during any of this. Any of his public statements or postcard that he sent out, all of those things, really I don't think has shown sincere remorse. And those that are closest to him, some of my senator colleagues that are closest to him, believe that, you know, he does need to get some help, whether it's, well, I'm not going to go into it, but they do believe that there is help that would help him in terms of his behavior. And I don't see any signs that he recognizes that or admits that or is really willing to go take those steps.
Yeah, and that would be a shame. I hope he doesn't run back again. I know how that goes sometimes. I mean, I've seen elected officials before do some things that were pretty hideous, and they go back, and because their constituents don't really follow the story or don't really follow politics, turn around and vote for the same guy. And I hope that doesn't happen. I hope he sails off in the sunset. If he needs help, gets some help, and moves on. I hope that's what he does for him and the sake of his family.
I hope so too, and for the sake of his constituents. I know, you know, early on there were issues about residency, whether he actually lived in his district or not. You know, I understand that he has filed some papers that are part of the court records that indicate that perhaps he does not currently live in his district. And so I think he would have a difficult time running for the District 2 seat. And again, I hope that he takes care of his personal business and perhaps leaves public life to someone else that's more capable of serving his constituents.
Yeah. All righty, Senator Sharon Hewitt. Senator Hewitt, good luck. God bless. Thank you so much. Thank you for having the guts to do what you did.
Well, you're welcome. It wasn't pleasant, but I felt like it was something that we had to do. And I'm glad that he stepped down and we're able to move on now to the important issues to solving the state's budget and other things that need to be addressed.
All right, thank you so much. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break. More to come. Last segment to go on the Moon Griffon Show, open forum Friday, 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. We'll take a break. Be right back.